So for the past year, I've also been using Mastodon, which I can already hear Jonas laughing in my head at the fact I just said that. But
can I just tell you before you go on? I know I butt in a lot, but every time you say Mastodon or Mastodon, I think of the Power Rangers. And if you remember, I think it was Blue Ranger, wherever they call their rangers, they go Mastodon. It was like Black Ranger. That's all I ever think of. Sorry.
I want that as a T-shirt now, or a button I can press on my. I'm going to get that recorded.
Yeah,
go Mastodon. Jonas hears something different, but this is a child-friendly podcast, so we won't mention that.
Okay.
From Press Red, welcome to Functions. This is episode 10. My name is Matt Blackman, and as always, I am joined by Turay.
Hey, Mac.
Hello. It's been... How long has it been since our last recording? I think it's been a month or so.
Yeah, it feels about right, about a month. Lots has happened.
We got to catch up on quite a few things because we've had such a long gap between. But first, I'm going to just chat about some general topics. I wanted to follow up on my chat about how I've swapped to Mac.
Okay, yeah.
Because one thing I didn't mention, and I'm surprised I didn't mention it, I don't like focus modes. It's not as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah, focus modes for me are a hit and miss situation. How do you have yours set up?
Currently, I have mine set up that when we do a recording, it prompts me and it opens up all the apps I want. But it's not good enough because I want it in that split screen mode that it has for when you have apps in full screen. That doesn't happen. I want it to change my wallpaper in the background. I wanted to do so much more than it does. I want it to be like the iPhone that has all those cool features that changes your wallpaper, changes your widgets. And yet it doesn't do hardly any of that. All it does is stop calls and some apps from opening.
Yeah, they haven't quite gone far enough with it, have they? What gets even worse is once you get into fully immersed into the ecosystem with the watch, the phone.
Yeah.
And all of your devices. I've got 2 Macs, watch, phone, iPad.
Show off.
They end up, I DJ late at night. My focus mode tells my phone to go off at like 10:30 or something like that into sleep mode. Or, the night mode, the little moon. But when I'm DJing, my watch then stops working and I can't see the time on my watch and I have to tap it 3 times. And my laptop, which I'm DJing with, then goes into like this reduced mode. And it's just a lot of clicks to undo it. And I wish it was a bit more aware of what you're doing.
You need a shortcut that would stop it or something like that.
Yeah.
But even shortcuts aren't good enough, in my opinion. They're too simple and they don't let you do enough.
What about Automator? I know we go back to this all the time. Is that being supported still?
I think you can still use it. I've given it a try. It's very complicated still. Well, not really. It is still using basic Python and JavaScript and some other ones that I've forgotten the name of. But it's too limited again.
I'm really enjoying shortcuts.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't use it for the first, how long's it been about now? 2-3 years. I didn't really bother with it, but now I've got a new car. The shortcuts are great. I've tied some of the shortcuts to Siri as well, and just being able to say to my car as I'm walking out through my watch, which is amazing, open the boot or set the temperature to 20 degrees whilst I'm kind of somewhere else. It's quite cool.
I only have 3 buttons in my shortcut panel. It's recording for this, focus, and education. That's it.
Right.
Focus is my favorite one, where it turns off all notifications and makes the screen black and white. I like doing that quite a bit. And it's a tactic that I went with my phone for a while. I have my phone just in black and white. I tried it for about 3 weeks before I eventually turned it off.
Nah, not the one. Not for you.
No. Now, another thing I want to talk about is, did you see that Macintosh Studio?
Macintosh Studio? You mean the Mac Studio?
No, the Macintosh Studio.
What? What's this? Is it some third-party thing?
Yeah, it was made by this guy. It spread around all these news feeds. And even Cayden sent it to me.
Oh, wow. How did I miss that?
Have you seen it?
No, I'm looking for it right now. I'm making a Macintosh Studio. Scott Yuhan?
Yeah. It looks great. It's like an iPad case for your Mac Studio.
Oh, wow.
Me and my dad, when it came out, we were pretty much discussing that we would all want that.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Carrying that power around.
Yeah. It's a shame they haven't done... Well, actually, it's a shame in general that Apple doesn't look back at their product designs and do celebrations of them every so often.
I remember they done it way back with the eMac. They looked back at that and they kind of brought out the new colours and revisited it and celebrated what the eMac was. But I guess if you're a company like Apple, people start to lose faith if you start looking back too much, and investors start to lose faith that you can innovate.
Yeah, but they could make one Macintosh again.
Yeah. But maybe they could do it for an anniversary or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think we just missed an anniversary of it.
Oh, wow. Macintosh Studio. So I'm looking at it now. It's not... So when you said iPad case, I thought they were just making or reducing that into something portable. They're actually making it look like the Macintosh.
Yeah.
Wow. That is nice.
It's a 3D printed file as well. So if you ever get a Mac Studio, which I actually don't know if you do have one.
No, I don't.
they're very expensive. I gave one a try. They're great, though.
I feel like lots of people that jumped on the Mac Studio are probably a bit disappointed with them because, not because of what they are, but because they're kind of being overtaken already. And will be shortly, probably by a lot of the range. It's the problem with Macs now is they're too good.
Yeah. I think Apple struggles with that a lot, especially now that the M series is kind of already become a bit stale. How can you shrink it anymore? How do you make it more powerful when you've reached the limit that we can possibly get to at the moment? And I think that's a huge problem in the tech industry in general. They advance too quickly, especially with our phones. I mean, we've all found our phones too mundane. We have a new phone every year. Why?
Yes, I do agree with you. Phones every year is something that's slowing down though, and I think they've got that. Android, every brand has reached peak and nobody needs anything else on their phone. And if they do need something else, the services are not there to support it. So it's a few years down the line. I mean, I'm still running an iPhone 12. What was that? What year was that? 2020, maybe?
I don't know. I know that my dad's still running an iPhone 12 as well.
I mean, I think it's 2020 because we're getting a 16 this year, right? So 4 years ago. It's absolutely fine. And I sound like a boring old person, but it does everything I need. Apple have got that problem because the only thing they can start to do is to slow down their machines. And I'm really concerned that my M1 Mac Pro is, with the next update might be slowed down.
Tell you what, talking about phones, I'm excited about a new iPhone release for the first time in a while.
Why?
I'm going to send it in the chat here. There's people think there's going to be a new SE coming out with a new design instead of using the iPhone 6 and 7 design, which I absolutely hated. They're going to be going back to the nice style, and I'm all on.
That is nice.
It is nice, isn't it?
The single camera that
ticks for me. I love the single camera phone. Why do they have so many cameras? I don't want it.
Oh wow, that is a good looking mock-up.
I'm hoping it is real. I'm hoping it will be announced, and if it's announced, I might be back on Apple entirely.
What's the size of that screen?
I don't know. This is so far. It was based off a image sent around from a factory. I don't know if we've got exact specs, but the renders are the best we got at the moment.
Let's be honest, the specs do not really matter at this point.
No, that's why I think the SE is a great option to go for.
Yeah. Battery life and design and size, I think, are what everybody's... Well, not even design, really. Battery life and size are what people's considerations should be for phones now. And if you're coming over to Apple Mac, the transition's nearly complete. We've just got one more device after that.
What device would that be? Because I literally just left the Apple Watch. Watch.
Oh, I was going to say back to the watch then, because I realise you're now nothing on your wrist.
Yes, I went to Nothing Watch. I don't think I even mentioned it in one of these episodes. I pretty much the other watch wasn't doing what I wanted it to do anymore because I'm using an Android phone. It's not giving me notifications.
So Give me the top 3 things that are better about your Nothing watch than your Apple Watch SE.
Battery life. And we're done. It's not a great watch, I have to admit. It's a fairly basic watch, but for about £60 or something, it's a nice watch.
Is that all it costs?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of watch for £60.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, £60 when I was a teenager would get you a Casio G-Shock and the entry-level G-Shock at that.
And now I have a smartwatch on my arm, and it's okay. It really is. It tells me my steps. Sometimes gets it a little bit wrong. It's somehow, and I don't know how it's doing this. I take this watch off because I cannot sleep with a watch on, and yet it still knows exactly when I wake up and exactly when I go to sleep.
Oh, that's creepy. Is it measuring like the air pressure in the room and when you start
How is it
breathing
doing that?
Oh, wow. That's clever, though. That's clever tech. And I'm impressed because it looked, seeing it on your wrist, it is well built and it doesn't look like a cheap watch, but at £60.
I will say it scratches easily. I think I was holding a tripod and I dropped it a little bit and it scratched across my arm and it got the watch. But it does last me ages. I have charged this watch maybe 5 times in the 3 months I've owned it.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's the Apple Watch is still way behind on that, and I don't think they're even looking to improve the battery life now. I think they're trying to sustain it and just add more features.
I think the problem is that if you get in that routine of you take the watch off, you charge it, then you get back up the next day, then you're not going to be bothered by it at all.
Yeah.
It's those people who want to wear it when they're sleeping or don't want to worry about it at all. That's who it's bothering. And that's a smaller majority than the people who just want a watch that either looks cool or gives them notifications and tells them off when they've not moved in hours.
It's never an inconvenience. Okay, Apple Watch is only an inconvenience if you travel a lot. If you come home every day, it's fine. But if you go on a road for work or if you go on holiday, it then becomes a bit of a challenge. But that's manageable.
Another thing I want to mention, so I think I mentioned this in the past episode, I'm thinking of leaving Adobe entirely.
Yes.
And I'm on my way to that. I've been on DaVinci for ages now. And one of the tools I was thinking of swapping to was Affinity. They had their draw tool and their photo tool. Great tools, pretty much identical to Photoshop and Illustrator. I just have one problem. A couple of weeks ago, they were brought by Canva.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Canva's just becoming one of those Canva and CapCut. Oh, I really want to hate them, but they're just becoming accepted everywhere.
They are. I don't like how easy they've made the tools, but at the same time, I do. It's confusing, isn't it? The ability to be able to make these quick little social media stuff is great, but also, please hire me.
Yeah, exactly. And and at what point does art and creativity and individual kind of ideas no longer matter? When you think about CapCut, people love it because it looks like what's already out there. It's got presets you can chuck on and come up with something that looks really good really quickly. And when clients who need videos made aspire to something, they aspire to what's already there. So your only line of work, well, not yet, but eventually your only line of work as a video creator and editor is going to be servicing artistic things like films and music videos, which are, let's face it, normally bigger projects and not your everyday projects. So those average everyday bits of work where you create for a business or something like that, you might as well use CapCut.
Yeah, that is true. The other aspect I don't like about Canva is it is subscription-based, and I'm terrified they're going to make Affinity subscription-based, which was the whole reason why I was swapping to Affinity in the first place.
Oh, well, they will for sure. If that's their business model, they're not buying in something else that's going to go against that.
They've said they're not going to touch it at the moment, but that they're going to eventually change, I bet you.
We've had the same thing in the DJ community. Alpha Feta are a big conglomerate and they own lots of things, not just DJ hardware, but they've just combined the two biggest platforms. Imagine combining Microsoft, like Apple OS with Windows. They've literally just bought the two competing platforms and they've promised they're not going to touch it. It's been a year And now updates are starting to come out where they're looking like they're sharing the same code, and eventually there'll just be one bit of software.
Oh,
so,
no.
you know, they say those things in the initial, but they're not making a promise, are they?
They'll make that promise until profit is affected.
Exactly. There's a reason they bought that software. And it's not to keep it as it is. I know they'll say they want some of the back-end technology, whatever, but eventually it's going to make business sense to have one product and with their existing business model. Are there any other options for you, though, other than Affinity?
So I've been looking at this company, and I thought they were only subscription-based, but they're not. It's called Sketch. It's a Apple-only tool. I've tried it in the past. It works the exact same way as Figma, which is a web design tool. And I do like it. I might swap to it for my logos and stuff like that, because I don't use Illustrator at all anymore, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've stopped using Illustrator as soon as I got Photoshop fully figured out. And then as soon as that happened, I then swapped over to Figma, and I just made my convenience of how I make my thumbnails and everything a lot easier. But they're not made for that specifically. But it's you can do whatever with if you're creative enough.
There's a lot of crossover, isn't there, in Adobe? Yeah, and I think that's frustrating, and they know that. That's why they offer things in packages and not on an individual basis, because they know most people would just get Photoshop.
On an entirely different note on this Photoshop thing, I don't like how involved AI has got in it in the first place. But what really seems to irritate me is they've got that floating panel.
Oh, well, you can get the contextual window.
Yeah, just pin it down, keep it away.
Is there not a way you can do that?
As far as I know, not yet. But if someone who was listening to this episode could tell me, I'd be very happy.
I like having the contextual window. I just think the branding is off.
Yeah.
If Apple made Adobe, that would be called like the Magic Helper or something, you know, and or maybe the pins. Do you remember the little paperclip that Windows used to have?
Clippy.
I think of it as Clippy more. The contextual window doesn't really doesn't work.
I see you're trying to draw an image. Are you sure you want to do that?
It's great. I love Adobe Photoshop. I love the AI tools. I don't see how Adobe Photoshop can be replaced, honestly.
Well, I'll give it a try.
Yeah. Is it still the most pirated software out there?
I have no idea.
For years, it was the top. And I know they've gone some way towards combating that with the subscription-based stuff, but that doesn't even matter. However, with the AI, there's a way they can lock people out now, because that requires an active, you know, you're calling home all of the time with your requests, and they can detect pirate software. So I wonder if there's a bit of an angle there too.
I'm searching right now what the most pirated software is.
Okay. Well, I know since CS6, it was by far the most, and then they went on to their subscription CC stuff.
Adobe's still quite high on the list. I don't think it's first, but it's quite high up.
Oh, okay.
It's in the top 20.
Oh, what's at the top?
I have no idea. For some reason, none of these websites will actually tell me what it is. You're going to be very confused by this topic.
Okay.
I've been wondering for a while I think we're on the cusp at the moment of an entire internet change, because we've seen so much change already, not just including AI, but with people leaving platforms, with platforms changing their rules. I think the internet is about to change. So if we could redesign online media, how would you do it?
Well, I'd have to go back to the first online social media. Yeah.
This kind of the YouTube-y kind of thing is what I'm on about.
Oh, okay. How would I redesign that? Oh, first of all, we'd have to think about the way we pay content creators. So I think you should design it with content creators and artists and filmmakers in mind, first of all, and sort out the money thing. Make sure the splits are good. Perhaps stop doing deals with big film distributors and record labels, and, you know, talk to the unions first. That's how I would start. In terms of interfaces, I'm quite happy with the way they function. I like the recommendations I get.
They are about to change that.
Oh, no.
Quite funnily, they're moving all of the comments to the side section and all the videos below on desktop on YouTube. Nobody's a fan of it, so I'm not sure if they're going to go through with it.
Okay.
But for me, I would also agree that their interface is perfect at the moment. Don't change it. It works very well. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing I want to change is how the data is stored. Because I saw a report a couple of years ago that YouTube were thinking of charging for 4K because it's costing them so much storage space to have all these systems. And I noticed something that could easily solve that problem. And we're doing one right now. Podcasting for a very long time has used RSS feeds pretty much since the beginning. Actually, yes, from the beginning. Why don't YouTube allow people to host on their own servers the content that they are wanting to do? And let's not say that everyone has to do this. Not everyone knows how to host their own servers and how to do all this. But if you got those big YouTubers like Linus Tech Tips and Marcus Brownlee to have their own servers at home, they could put all of their storage, all these videos out, and then everyone can access them. They can still get the analytics data that they wanted through all that. But these huge files that are now kept locally on their server instead.
Yeah,
and
I think that'd be a great idea.
I think it would be a great idea, and it's already in action. There is a website called makertube.net that we are on. I put this podcast on there.
Okay.
And that allows people to host their own servers using their protocol. And I feel like this should be the next version of YouTube. It's not going to happen. It would take so much effort to set this all up.
Yeah.
But if YouTube did it, it would save themselves so much storage by having these big YouTubers swap over.
But they don't... Why would... Okay, you know the answer to this. Why do Google not want you to do that?
Because they can't get as much data.
Ownership. It's completely about data and ownership. And
yes.
And they'll sell it as, well, what if one of these YouTubers doesn't have a backup or goes down or are kind of, I don't know, even robbed and vandalized? Then our service takes a hit because it's not as reliable and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, it's about controlling data. It's about owning your stuff. And
I hadn't thought about what if the data had gone. What would their response be? That would be pretty bad. Yeah.
And they'll say it has an impact on their, their brand, which ultimately it will, but that's not the reason. And it's very much, everything's there to capture our information and data now. And I think we're so deep into it now that you just kind of have to go along with it or become a bit of a hermit and not use anything and sit by yourself in a room.
I feel like that will change soon. But it is too late for all the data that we already have. That's all gone.
Yeah. And personally, I'm now starting to realize the value of my data. Before I didn't care so much, but now I'm starting to realize the power of it.
If Google was a paid subscription initially, would you sign up for it or would you still take it for the fact that it's free?
Yeah. If I had the knowledge that I have now and I could go back to 2000 and whatever, 7, 6, I'd pay for it. Because it's a small price to pay for owning your own ideas and information.
Yeah.
I subscribe to other things, so why not that,
So for the past year, I've also been using Mastodon, which I can already hear Jonas laughing in my head at the fact I just said that. But
can I just tell you before you go on, I know I butt in a lot, but every time you say Mastodon or Mastodon, I think of the Power Rangers. And if you remember, I think it was Blue Ranger, wherever they call their rangers, they go, Mastodon. It was like Black Ranger. That's all I ever think of. Sorry.
I want that as a t-shirt now. or a button I can press on my... I'm going to get that recorded.
Yeah.
Go Mastodon. Jonas hears something different, but this is a child-friendly podcast, so we won't mention that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been using Mastodon for a while now, and it's a great view into this whole world, and having such an open network that can do anything pretty much. You have people hosting their own Instagram versions on there, their own Twitters, not calling it X, screw you. All of these different social networks that can be hosted on one protocol. I can never see it being widely used.
No. It's because it's called Mastodon. Everyone thinks of
It's not got a good name, I will say that. And I think it's called like the Federated Universe, which doesn't even sound better. And it uses a different protocol I've suddenly forgotten the name of. But Threads, that new platform hosted by Meta, is supporting it.
Okay. And what's happened to Threads?
Threads is doing really well.
Is it?
Yeah. I think people don't often hear about it and think that it's not doing very well.
Yeah, I'm one of those, yeah.
It's been doing very well. I hit like 10 million users in a week, and it's got to 100 million 2 months ago.
I'd like to see how active those users are, because I've got a thread. I jumped on it at the start when they had that big wave of publicity at the start. And I get the sense of desperation. It stinks of desperation. I get notifications on my feed of Instagram and it makes it look like something really interesting, like a post, but you can't see the whole thing. And it's like, click over to Threads to find out more. And I never do.
You can definitely taste the desperation as soon as you go on to Instagram and you scroll down and you see Threads on Instagram going, please like me.
Yes, absolutely. But good for them. It's always good to have alternatives, I guess.
I would be happy if a bunch of celebrities or YouTubers that I want to follow, I don't follow any celebrities, just YouTubers really, if they went on there and then I could be on Mastodon and just grab their link and post on there and all that, I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah.
Because one thing that's really annoying me about Threads is they're doing the Instagram thing where they are suggesting posts based on what you look at already. And it's just become a big distraction. Within about a few days, I ended up just watching someone cut a watermelon or something like that. Something absolutely random, and yet I'm now distracted by it. So I had to uninstall the app again.
Well, I think you've got to be careful what you ask for. You're essentially asking for everything to be within one thing, or access to everything to be through one thing. And I can't see that ending well.
It's kind of funny because I don't like Twitter's idea of being the everything app, while I'm very happy with this platform being the everything social media.
Yeah. Yeah. And life is not like that. If this revolution is going to be us doing everything online and eventually virtually, we have to take some cues from everyday life. And, the kitchen is the kitchen, the car is the car, and things happen where they happen. We have devices and we are trained to use several different things, and we don't need to go to one place, and that's what makes life fun. So yes, there's a learning curve to all of these things, and it's a bit of a hassle, but that's how we experience the world.
Do you think people will ever drop social media, or is it a thing that's going to stay for a while?
I think it will get dropped, and I think it will evolve. I can remember it wasn't that long ago when we were all on MySpace, and MySpace was life. It was life. It was integrated into everything we'd done. Your top 8 friends on MySpace, I lost friendships over moving people out of it. And you just couldn't imagine that would ever change. And it changed overnight. It became the end of that summer, whenever it was, no one mentioned it again. And I know that was because of what the changes they made or didn't make as a company. But it just goes to show that these things are not really that deeply kind of integrated into our lives the way we think they are, and we can easily change. So, I don't think as they exist now, social media would be here in 10 years.
I went on MySpace during a lesson, and I almost made myself an account just for the joke, really, of having a MySpace account.
I do believe I still have a MySpace account. I'm going to look it up now. Because they got bought out by somebody, and then it just changed the way it looked, and
I've just searched who owns MySpace. Vidant Technology. Vidant? V-I-A-N-T.
So, that's something to do with Viacom?
Maybe.
Viadent.
Let me search them myself. I tell you what, since swapping to this Mac, I don't think I can go back.
No?
No, I initially thought I can possibly go to the Framework laptop afterwards. I think I'm in now.
I think Apple have another company can easily do what Apple, not easily, but they can achieve what Apple have achieved. But what they've achieved is that just a seamless ability to do everything adequately on one laptop. And it's not really the best at anything, but it's just really good at everything. And I'm sorry to use their catchphrase, but kudos to the marketing team. It just works.
Yeah. I will say we've seen two companies in the last month try to do an Apple thing, and they have really failed. This is
I know where
Humane
you're going
and
with this.
Rabbit R1.
So what are they called again?
Humane Pin and Rabbit R1 have both been not very well accepted. Although the Rabbit R1 kind of got a better acceptance just for the fact that it looks nicer.
You need to tell the listeners the truth, Mac. What were your expectations and hopes for these things? Because you were sold, weren't you?
No, not entirely.
You were shaking and dribbling with anticipation about these things.
I did not like the Humane Pin. That looked far too expensive and kind of stupid. And then when it did release, I was slightly more interested on the fact that it has the little touchpad and it doesn't listen to me.
But the Rabbit...
I will say, with the Rabbit, I love the look of it because it's teenage engineering and I'm a teenage engineering sucker. And I was excited for the idea that I could have this little machine. I wasn't going to buy it. I know I wasn't going to buy it because these AI things, they're not ready yet. None of them are ready yet. But I would have been happy with a little button on my desk that I could have pressed that just just enabled it so I could talk to it. And that's probably going to happen in a couple of weeks' time. We got Apple. They'll chat about some things and goes, well, Siri's got better. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I technically already have one of those buttons. It's just built onto a laptop instead.
I was excited about AI and, in its current form as like a language model is cool, but I am excited of what Apple are going to do because we know the access that people have to Apple when they put out one of their, what do they call them? Their kits, developer kits, is huge and everybody will take it seriously. However they choose to let you access their devices with the APIs, we could see some amazing AI developments in the next 6 months.
We went off task, but I want to carry on because there's one thing that I'm very excited about, and it's something I would never be excited about throughout the rest of its development.
Okay.
I'm intrigued on what they're going to announce for the Apple Watch this year.
A new color?
I hope that they either integrate it with the Vision Pro because they have all of the stuff that they have, the gyroscope, they have the hand tracking and the thumb thingy that they've got.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But most of all, they better put a good AI on that watch because then that will beat Humane Pin, that will beat Rabbit R1 if you can just, instead of having it attached to you on your chest, you've got it on your arm. You press a button, you're chatting to it.
Yeah. That would be cool. But do they need... I suppose Apple don't do things because they need to, do they? They look to the future, and they've been doing things in the background for a long time. I would argue that feature on an Apple Watch should be used by me and you, but not by most people.
No, I guess that's true.
However, they do need to start thinking about the future and the future generations of people and how we will interact with Apple devices. Our phone's going to be around forever. Apple need to find the next thing. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I'll be sad when the phone goes, though. I actually kind of like its form factor at the moment. But
I get nostalgic about old phones. I look at YouTube videos and watch videos of, like, my Sony 700K from the year 2002 and things like that, or Sony Ericsson. And I can see when iPhones disappear, it's going to be a lot of people like me.
I think the oldest phone that I used was a Motorola, and I played Snake on it.
Motorolas didn't have Snake on, if I remember. Oh, maybe the later ones did, yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't that old then.
No.
I used to have, look this up, I used to have a Motorola Memphis, and I only had it because I found it on my paper round. When it's in a paper round.
How on earth do you spell that? Oh,
Memphis,
it worked.
like the city, MEMPH.
Is that classic phone shape with the?
I haven't seen
with
it
the little
ages.
antenna coming out the top.
Yeah, it's got more of a curvature to it. I remember.
Yeah.
Because everything else, like there was a I can't remember the other model, but the Memphis is lovely. Everyone else had these square ones, but yeah, that's real retro.
God, do you remember Orange?
Of course, yeah.
They're not around anymore, are they?
Orange, they got bought out or collaborated with, was it T-Mobile or someone like that? And then they got kind of absorbed by them. And then T-Mobile, is that still about?
T-Mobile's still around, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what happened to them. And I think there's another big Vodafone are joining with Virgin, I think, or O2.
So here we go. Orange mobile phone network operator was adopted by T-Mobile UK, then joined venture with EE in 2010.
EE, yes, that's it. There you go. Yeah, I remember that. It's a difficult game, man. They've got a lot of competition. People don't use phones for phone calls, so now it's just a data game. We've got people like Tesla doing their kind of Starlink. There'll be more of that satellite-based, mobile internet. They've got to join forces to stay relevant.
If you enjoyed that Apple talk, welcome back to Apple Talk. Because our next segment is Vision Pro, which we were meant to talk about ages ago.
Okay. Not so much on my timelines anymore. Has everyone got over the Vision Pro now?
I think people are already marking its death, which I think is a bit too early to say.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had long enough to do it. And it's still, I think of it still as a development device. It's not a final product.
Yeah, I hear that.
But there are a few things that I've noted down here, stuff that I would like it to include. And its first health issue. Well, what do you want to go with?
Its first health issue, neck pain, from what I've seen.
So, neck issues and black eyes.
Oh, wow, really? Is it that tight?
So, no, it's not like bruising of the eyes. As far as I know, let me just double read this again. Yeah, so this was a report from April 9th, 2024 from Mac Rumors.
Okay.
Because your eye is in a super dark environment and you have the screens in front of you, your eye, after long usage of using the VR headset, will stay at its iris opening.
Oh, no way.
This hasn't happened to a huge amount of people, but it has happened to people, and it's the first time it's happened in the VR world.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it just means it's not permanent. It lasts a few hours. It just means everything is a lot brighter than it needs to be. Because imagine your eye is stuck open like a camera.
I've had that before.
You've had that before?
Yeah, so it's a really not a nice feeling. So I had to have, and sorry for listeners that are a bit squeamish, I have these things in my eyes. They're called floaters. So when you close your eyes, you can see things. It's like leaves floating around in a pond. And it can be linked to blood pressure. Long story short, I had to get all sorts of checks done. And I had some tests done on my eyes. And they put, I don't even need to say this, but I will. They give you this kind of ointment which opens your irises up so they can really look into them. But then they put like this suction cup on your eyeballs and pull them out of the socket. And they like send signal. They don't get a camera, but they send like these beams behind your eyeballs to check your sockets, whatnot. But afterwards, obviously your irises or pupils, I don't know the kind of science behind the eye, is still wide open. So you have to wait around for a couple of hours because you can't go outside. You can't drive. And it's painful. I just had a headache. Everything was really bright. And even when you close your eyes, you can still see the brightness coming through your eyelids. It's horrible. So I can't imagine, without having medical advice around me, having to go through that. Imagine if you go on your VR and then you want to go to bed.
Yeah. I think it would definitely freak you out, not knowing what's going on.
Absolutely.
And I don't think Apple would want this to be a thing. I think they've worked on trying to get it better, because that was an article from April. We've had quite a bit of time between that now.
I thought you were going to say, I think they've worked on trying to kill the story. That would sound more like a big company.
I haven't heard much about it since, so maybe they've been doing that as well.
Yeah, I imagine the PR team's on full alert.
So there's quite a few bits of tech that's been interesting. There's Meta's chat about how much they don't think that the Vision Pro is very good, but that's just Meta. They also sell their own thing, but they also made this breakthrough technology that I think is really interesting. It does a manual VR room scan. Or not manual, like an automatic VR room scan. So it scans the whole room. It takes the measurements of your window, your desk, your table, your sofa, anything.
Yeah.
So you know your environment without even having to do anything.
So you don't have to manually map it out anymore.
No.
That's brilliant.
I think
that is stuff of
great.
movies, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's going to allow... I hope that technology also makes its way over to the Vision Pro and all of these other ones.
Well, imagine where that could go. You could literally do like the movie thing. So you leave your house with your VR glasses, because eventually we know it will get there, whether it's 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And as you're leaving your house, you walk through the house, it scans the current state of all of the rooms. You come back into the house, and as you're walking back into the house a few hours later, it scans the state again. And if something's changed, it will say, something's moved here, or someone's been here because this has happened. And it can
could
give
just
you
highlight the thing that's moved. Yeah, that'd be great.
It'd be amazing.
I'd be very happy with all that with that, and it would make it so much easier for designers as well to be able to correctly measure something that's just in front of them.
Yeah,
it's just a useful tool. But I also think
about VR, like in cars, that could be amazing. Scanning environments and driving with a headset
on. Yeah, that's not.
Well, no, but the car
safe.
would have that technology, not your head.
There's also an article about the pencil being used with the Vision Pro. This is from March 25th. I don't think that's going to come true, but it would be cool. Instead of having to use your hand or a keyboard and mouse, maybe you could use a pencil to draw or
on the air.
Yeah.
You look like you're conducting an orchestra.
That'd be really weird. What are you doing? Conducting. Could you hold two pencils and draw with both?
VR is such a dream. And if a company like, what are Apple worth now? More than 3 trillion?
Oh,
well, that's not even their worth. That's how much cash reserves they have, right? If a company like Apple can't take a hit for 6 months or a year on a product like this, it's never going to get off the ground. Apple don't want to sell things at a loss. There are so many companies that are willing to sell things at a loss for, a stretch of time, especially car manufacturers. I've been finding out Apple is still making these huge profits when they could, if they wanted to, they could make VR take off. They could sell them for 500 quid each.
Yeah, they could probably make cheaper ones. I hope they will do.
They could sell the exact one they've got now for £500, make a loss, because that's the one division that's making a loss amongst all of the other divisions that are absolutely profitable. And then it's a short-term loss, long-term gain. But these companies, I'm afraid, have got so much greed, and we're so entangled in what they offer now that we're allowing it, and it's pretty crap. There's never been a time like it in tech, like what we're experiencing now. We've always had, whether it's televisions or record decks or CD players, we've always had healthy competition and the bigger companies willing to make a loss to make a long-term gain. And Apple are just crushing us. They're crushing me.
Yeah. They, I wonder, do you think there's any jobs you can do with the Vision Pro on?
Well, they did bring out and I guess it's a recreational type job, but they brought out Algorithm DJ on it, I saw. And I think if you'd have told me you could DJ with it, I'd dismiss it. But having seen an extended demo, I could realistically see myself doing a 5-hour set with a headset on. I think that would work.
I jokingly wrote in this document, and I do not think this is something I would personally like to have. Imagine a barber's wearing it. I think it would be very funny.
So they could, first of all, look at your head and your shape of your head, and I suppose
maybe
the AI
pre-plan
could tell
out
them,
That'd be very silly, but
they could give them guidance on where to. But if you've cut anybody's hair before, I'm sure everyone tried in lockdown. Did you try in lockdown?
No, I just grew my hair out.
Okay. Well, I tried to cut my kids' hair, my wife cut my hair. And the hardest thing was the lines and like symmetry and things like that. So AI could definitely help barbers with that.
My brother during lockdown got a haircut from my parents.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't sit still and he moved his head sideways. And he had a wonky haircut for about 2 years.
Because it kept getting recut in the same line.
Yeah. Very funny.
I think barbers done well out of lockdown. They took a, again, short-term hit, but people really appreciated them after that, and they put their prices right up.
I'll tell you one thing the Vision Pro should do. They should have, they should support more of their tools. Like I was saying earlier, I hope they do something with the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
They should use AirTags as well.
How would that help with Vision Pro?
Well, because it has accurate positioning. Well, maybe they could release a newer one. That just
Isn't that
like
the W something chip that does that?
Yeah, that chip. If they could use that chip to then figure out how far away it is from the headset, then they could have, let's say, a tab tied to it or something like that.
Right. Well, I think you're likely to get, I mean, if there's anything we know about Apple, everything's integrated, so it's likely to happen. The only thing that doesn't really get included in 2024 as much is the Apple TV. They pretty much include everything other than that. I liked the Apple TV. It's a shame. I think it was doomed from when Steve Jobs called it their hobby.
Yeah.
Because then it really did become a hobby, and it could have been what the Amazon stick is right now, the Fire Stick.
I mean, they did update it recently and gave it a new UI and everything.
Yeah, but it's still £100 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They maybe need to make a cheaper one then. It doesn't do 4K.
Are we still talking Apple news? I've got something for you to talk about, to consider.
Okay, yeah, shoot.
So I'm reading the headlines on Sky News on the ticker at the bottom. Apple in talks or considering or sniffing around buying BMW.
Ah, yes.
Wow. What? I can't think of two companies that would match more perfectly than Apple and BMW. Like in terms of brand and what they stand for and market and consumer, you know, the type of consumer.
I think that's kind of funny though, because they literally just cancelled their project last week. Huh.
Yeah.
I got to check that news.
Yeah, so they're sniffing around BMW, which could be perfect synergy. And I'm guessing that they spent this 10 billion, it's been rumoured. I'm guessing they've got a few things that they discovered during those few years that they could take to a car company.
I was really hoping that they would buy Tesla at some point, because I know that seems weird, but I don't feel like Elon wants to support it for that forever. And I also feel like they're not doing very well financially at the moment.
Well, okay, I'm going to be a bit defensive now, and I realise that, but I keep hearing about them not doing well financially. Their share price is not what it was at the start of the year, but that's their share price. It's not what the company is doing financially, is it? I know they let go of a lot of people recently.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
What was it, around 500? And that's all tied in with America, and they wanted to get some sort of not a discount, but a federal something or other to build more stations, and it didn't happen, did it? So they just let go of their people, which is a shame. I think Tesla will be okay. Apple would love to buy Tesla. It's an American company, but Elon Musk is a bit of a hardhead, and he's rich. He probably doesn't. He's probably not as tempted by money, being a risk taker, as another company may be. You know.
Yeah.
If Apple were to buy any car brand other than Tesla, what do you think would match?
Oh, I don't know. The only other electrical car company I can think of is Polestar, but I mean, you don't have to only go electrical, do you?
No, and I think whatever they bought, they'd make electrical. They'd make it into, or hydrogen, or some sort of future power. If they bought BMW, there would be problems, though. Consumers, BMW is one of those brands that have got their real hardcore fans. And Apple would call it.
True.
They're probably, because they're by the BMW group, right? And I don't know who else is under the BMW group, but they would become Apple cars, not BMW. It wouldn't be the BMW
Yeah,
Apple.
true. Most definitely they wouldn't stay as BMW cars.
Yeah, people are going to lose their, my M3, and they'd be gone.
Wait, the M3 with the M3.
I like that. Yeah, I think Apple, when they buy a car company, and they will do, because they're not throwing that money against the wall, but when they buy a car company, they should make the chips removable and replaceable by, not even by a user, just upgradable.
Ooh, I don't think they would do that.
They don't do it on their PCs, but a car is a substantial purchase. It's not a 1,500 quid purchase.
But they're in that PC industry. They're still in that mindset that it should stay like that.
That type of innovation would put them ahead, though. Tesla don't do it. BMW don't do it. And that's something they could say, look, when you buy the new BMW Apple car, this car is going to stay fast and upgradable for the next 10 years.
I really hope they don't do what they do with their phones, where they release a new car every year. It would be possible to do.
Oh, Jesus. They just wouldn't be able to have the speed.
No.
What do cars take, like, for a facelift for 4 or 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going to be your first car, Mac? Is it going to be an electric car?
I'd love it to be an electric car, but you see how much those cost?
Well, okay, fair enough. If you could have any car, what would it be?
Oh, I would buy a really old car and do it up with electrics instead.
That's a lot of work, but that sounds very much like you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love the look of an old car, but I don't like the sound of an engine.
Oh, I realise now that I miss the feel of an engine, not necessarily the sound, but just the sense that there's an engine in the car. I suppose there's a bit of sound mixed in there too, but I think I do miss that.
See, I got the complete opposite. As soon as my dad got an electric car, I was very happy, and then we got rid of it. God, I really missed that electric car the most.
Which car was it?
We had the Leaf, Nissan Leaf.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been looking at those.
It's a great car. I love it.
Great car. It's a great first car.
Yeah. But yet again, they're not cheap.
Well, I mean, if you buy a 2014 Nissan Leaf with 120 miles, like drivable miles left on it, you can get them for about $3,000.
Yeah. Still doesn't sound that cheap, but
No,
I'll be honest with you, I'm not that interested in cars at the moment.
Okay.
We are going to do another episode after the iPad event. So
Yeah.
if you are enjoying that Apple news, more Apple news in a bit. This episode is brought to you by Fifine and their great new podcasting microphone. Tank-free is great for starting a podcast, with its USB interface allowing you to not need a DAC or mixer to record an episode, as well as the headphone port allowing you to monitor your voice and listen to your co-host or guest. But if USB isn't what you're looking for, the Tank-free also comes with XLR as well. And that's why it's a great podcasting mic. It has the best of both worlds at an affordable price. In fact, this ad segment was recorded on the very mic I'm talking about. Thanks to Fifine for supporting an episode of Functions. And now, let's get back to the episode. And we're back, and the event has happened. And it was an iPad event. That was about all I can say so far.
Man, I was so surprised and shocked it was an iPad event.
That is sarcastic, right?
Of course it is, yeah. I'm telling you, Apple leakers are the best.
I don't know. Google doesn't even let people leak for them. They just do it themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Pixels have just come out, right? Or the 8A, I think.
Yeah. I saw MKBHD's review. I haven't watched it yet, but it came up on my feed. Okay.
Sorry, before we start, I'm trying to reconnect. Oh, we're back on. Okay, cool.
Okay. How do you think the event went?
It was okay, actually. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad for iPad people. Yeah, it was all right. There was a couple of gems in there that weren't iPad directly related that I'm more excited about.
Yeah, I mean, it was very entertaining watching Apple kind of skirt around the word AI. Like, they want to say it, they don't want to reveal too much. So they're just going to casually mention it every so often.
But that's the exciting part, right? They're giving you hints that they're about to do AI the Apple way, which everybody's looking forward to.
Because they were showing off a diagram of the M4, which, by the way, the M4 is now out. And they didn't show one of the corners, and I'm wondering if either that corner is really boring or that's the AI corner.
Yeah, that's the secret for the June event.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting from here. You know, the AI stuff is, like we said earlier, chatbots and everything are cool and these kind of limited functions, but I think it's about to explode now. You can feel it.
Yeah, I hope that the walls between iPad and iMac are slightly broken. Not maybe someone's put a door in the wall. That's about it. I don't want them gone.
Right.
I still think there should be a good separation between iPad and iMac, but I want some more features to cross between the both.
I can see the dilemma for Apple is getting close, especially with this new trackpad, which looks amazing. Trackpad, keyboard, $300 accessory. You've basically got a 13-inch MacBook now.
So you will rewatch the event, right?
Yes, yeah.
Did they just take the trackpad from a Mac? Is it the same or is it a different Mac trackpad?
No, it's a different trackpad.
Okay, because I couldn't hear that.
Same technology, obviously the same, but it's not the same trackpad. Yeah. What are your top features, top things?
I feel like if I talk about my top features, that's too much of a spoiler immediately going into it. Because I know exactly what my favorite feature is, and that's on the Pro.
Okay.
But did they release a new iPad, or did they just discount the original, the 10th gen iPad?
Okay, so that iPad is exactly the same. I think it got a $50 price cut. Hopefully that translates exactly into pounds, and it's $350 to get into the iPad market. No new chips.
It does.
No new colours. Just that.
Yeah, I feel it's a bit cheating just to discount the price.
Why is that?
I feel because with their phones, they start with this is the iPhone 15, then this is the iPhone 15 something else, and then Pro, and then, they go up their stages.
Yeah.
It feels like you should start with your base product. This is the iPad. This is the one that's still on the A15 Bionic. Maybe we could put it to the A16 Bionic and just be happy with that. And there we go.
Yeah, I understand that line of thinking, but it is slightly different with the iPads and what people use them for. I think the phones, funnily enough, are general everyday users are more likely to use the processing power of their phone more so than a general kid that picks up an iPad to go on YouTube Kids. And I think there's innovation in pricing as well. It's not just about technology. If they can innovate and kind of change markets by introducing maybe a $300 iPad next time around, that gives them more space for developers to make iPad apps, and it makes the iPad better. So
I would agree with that, but I feel like they just chucked it in on the end there instead. If it opened with, okay, before we start the whole event, we are putting down the price of this iPad. I feel like that's much more of an upfront. This is the cheapest option. If you want this, here you go.
So you've got a problem with the way the event was structured?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't understand why the iPad Air is on the M2, personally. I know that seems weird, but it feels like everything should be on the same generation.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Air should still also be on the Bionic chips.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think of the Air as the cheaper version of the Pro, right? So you go
definitely.
for the Mini, which is identical really to the iPad, it's just smaller. And then you go to the Air, which is the cheaper version of the Pro for those who just want a little bit more power.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Pro, which has all of the power.
Yeah. And I see it as with the iPad, it's not so much of a power thing. It's more of the latest feature set.
Yeah, yeah.
They do hand that feature set down, don't they, to the middle. And I suspect that most people, knowing humans, will pick the middle one, and they expect to sell more of those. And logistically, they could probably make those for a lot cheaper because they're using the old chips. They're using the regular screens, what they call the Retina displays.
Yeah.
And they want to sell a lot of those.
I would like to point out a question, point out that there are 4 of them. Which one's the middle one?
4? Oh, the Mini as well, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know the spec of the Mini. I think the Mini's, well, actually, it was spec the same as the Air, right? But now it's not the same as the Air. So I guess it goes iPad, iPad Mini, iPad Air, iPad Pro.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
I don't know what the price of the Mini is.
No, well, I was looking at them recently because my mum wanted to get one, and I convinced her not. Well, I'm trying to convince her not to because it's not much of a different size to an iPhone anyway. I think it was around 300.
No way, it's more than that.
I've got to check.
It's definitely more than that.
No, yeah, 499. That's actually a bit too much in my opinion for the smaller version. Maybe they should have discounted that one a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's in a bit of a weird place, isn't it? I mean, why would you get it?
Yeah. They need to work on the Mini. Unless they're keeping the Mini for WWDC, but that seems like a bit of a weird choice.
Yeah, no, I think they're keeping it for M7.
M7, great. We've got to wait a bit then.
Yeah.
I also want to double check. It probably wasn't the best being in a room with such loud noise to try and understand what was going on. I don't know because I don't follow iPads. Did they move the camera? Because I swear when I used an iPad last, it was on the top.
Right. So, yeah, they moved it last year with the Air. And then everyone was confused why the Pros didn't get it. When I say last year, I mean last time around. The Pros didn't get it, and it made sense for the Pros to get it, and now the Pros have got it. And I actually appreciate the move. I always turn my iPad that way because I'm watching things on it. So when it rings, I have to turn it around. And when I stand it up, my stand is landscape, so it's a bit awkward. I like it.
When I use the iPad, I always use it in that portrait view. I understand for when a call, it makes way more sense for it to be landscape.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you use the camera for?
Nothing.
Face ID will work anyway it goes, so that's not a problem.
Is Face ID also a new thing? Because they seem to talk about that a lot with the Pro specifically.
Yeah, I didn't understand that because it's not. Yeah, I didn't get that. I think Apple remind people of these features every so often. And, you know, a couple of people around when we were watching it were saying, that's not new. But that's the marketing. They kind of churn it out there again, just in case you didn't know. We have this feature, and it works.
It was pretty interesting watching the Apple show in a different environment. I mean, I've always watched Apple shows with my parents at home. Very weird to be sat in a class watching it.
With people who are not necessarily in the know or just the everyday consumer. It's a very different experience. There was
I got a bit too overexcited during the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I'm going to jump to the... Actually, no, with both of them. I don't understand why have they made more sizes?
It's confusing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the bigger screens, I personally think the iPad's now such a mature product. I think it's 2010 it came out, so 14 years. They should get rid of the smaller ones. If you could offer anyone a 13 or a 12.9 versus the 10, they'd take the 12.9. It's not like you're taking this device anywhere with you. Most people have them in the house.
I think, personally, I prefer the smaller ones because I think of them as tiny notebooks that you take notes on. So I understand the market that the smaller ones are for. I just don't feel like they should have sub-sizes per tier.
Right, okay. So some models are smaller, the Pros are bigger.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Mm.
For the more power, you get the bigger screen because those people who are using that power probably need more screen.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that's different for laptop, I should point out. When it comes to Macs, I feel like you should be able to choose what screen you get because I went for the 14-inch, not the 16-inch on purpose. I think that's too big for a laptop.
However, I had a gig the other night and the DJ before me had a 16 and I was jealous. I mean, the DJ software on a 16-inch it's just that much better.
I was in a different college and I was sat down. I was helping out with some techie things. And this person sat down with their 16-inch laptop M3 with their MacBook Pro. Sorry, no, iPad Pro. Just sat next to them.
With the screen, second
then
screen.
the headphone. Then they had the phone. I was like, how rich is this person?
Or how much credit do they have?
Yeah, probably more likely. I want to jump to the Pro now, and I have so many questions about the Pro. The first one is, why did they make it thinner?
Because everyone needs a thin device. I mean, I thought they got rid of Johnny Ive, or he left, or whatever happened there. They seem to be back on the thin boat.
Did they not learn anything from the iPhone 6?
And even one of the iPads used to bend too. I can't remember which one it was.
I'm looking forward to someone just snapping it in half, and then Apple having to go, we'll go back again.
After the iPhone 6, and I think it was the first iPad Pro, the big one, it was the 12.9 first generation iPad Pro. After those bending incidents, you'd like to think that they've really battle tested this one, because they know what's coming.
But it also, like, it's smaller than, I've seen photos already, it's smaller than the Thunderbolt 4 cable that they provide for it. And it's now smaller than the pen. I don't know if that includes the new pen. It'd be very funny if it does. But why make it smaller?
The way I see it is, you have to take steps towards the ultimate tech dream, and that is for the glass display on its own, or, the paper display. And you can't just jump there. You've got to take tiny steps. Apple's willing to do that, so I appreciate it.
I kind of feel like they just to make a difference between all the iPads, they're going to make it smaller, bigger, smaller, bigger.
Yeah, there is that too. Same with everything. Again, going back to cars, why get the new BMW over the old one? A lot of times it is like, it looks slightly different. Whether it looks better or not doesn't matter, as long as it's different. We're people who get bored of things and have money to spend.
Now, one thing I was really excited about was OLED. And I was so looking forward to the idea that these iPads, these now have, I don't know if it was micro OLED, but it is OLED at least.
It was OLED, fully fledged OLED, and not one.
I know, yeah. And then they showed off with two OLEDs stacked on top of each other.
It's like two bits of toast on top of each other. It's great.
I don't know how that works personally. It feels for me like if you put a light over the top of a light, there's going to be a little bit of something between them that stops them. But Apple's done something, so let's just pat them on the back and say good job. Yeah, I mean,
we're waiting till these screen tests come out, but what I did like about it was, and I don't know if it's a feature of the OLED only, actually it was, the Pro, is you've now got a reference mode. So the example they gave...
Mode?
Yeah, so the example they gave was someone using Illustrator, I think, but when you're doing professional editing, you can buy reference monitors, and when they brought out their Pro displays, they kind of made that big hoo-ha, and they've now got that down at the iPad level, which is great, because a lot of times when I'm editing, I use my 2018 iPad Pro as a second screen, and the colours, I just can't trust them. So it's great that they've put that there on the Pro, because it's definitely useful.
I will also say that the iPad Pro might have the most ugliest camera bump they have released so far. It's like a mess, really, to look at it. It's got so many random things. Well, not random, but it looks random.
LiDAR and...
I mean, it's great to have LiDAR. I think that's a really good choice to make, and especially for the PDF scanning thing, which apparently everyone was really interested in the class, because that got a big ooh.
I mean, that's not new. I know the way they're doing it is new, but come on.
I thought it was quite funny.
I've been using the Google Photos something app for like 5 years, where it takes 4 pictures and stitches them together. Yeah, it's a bit more clunky, but it does exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I think the LiDAR is a good choice, and especially going to be useful for these development of scanning products and stuff like that. It's just an interesting development. Whether it's necessary, I have no idea.
I don't think LiDAR's new.
It's not. But
not to iPad.
Is it not new to iPad?
I don't think
no,
it's new
they had
to
it on
iPad.
last generation.
Yeah.
But I think they've just made the sensor bigger.
And they're doing a song and dance about it, which makes you think what's coming in June.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point.
Do you know what it's like? Sorry, it's almost like when you watch a series, especially traditionally, and then the next episode comes on and they say, previously on Series X, and they show you a little something that's going to hint as to what's coming now, even though it's always been there. So you kind of get a feel for what they're about to build on. And I got that feeling about this event with the AR, with the LiDAR. I think that's all big news is coming.
That feels like that should be on a t-shirt as well. Previously on Apple or WWDC.
Oh, someone get in touch with the marketing guys.
Yeah, I think it is a weird choice, but it could be that the LiDAR's for the Vision Pro, maybe. Scanning stuff to put in the Vision Pro to then work
just
with.
Won't let that idea go, will you?
I think a lot of the stuff that they're currently working on is pointed towards Vision Pro. I'm not obsessed with it.
It's in danger of becoming another Apple hobby, I'm afraid to say.
What, the Vision Pro?
Yeah. Next event, they're going to say, we try other things soon. We've got the Vision Pro 2. And then...
Oh, God, if they released the Vision Pro 2 already, that I don't think that would make quite a few people angry, based on the fact it hasn't even been released in the UK yet.
No, and I remember when the iPad came out, and practically we got the iPad 2 here a few months after we got the iPad 1 here, because it just took so long. But Vision Pro, the kind of top tier Apple device that you can buy, by far, is running a chip that's older than an iPad. I don't think that's sustainable. I think to sell that as the best thing, it needs to be the best in every way. So I think number 2 is coming.
It has thermal problems already, so I wouldn't want to push it.
Well,
and I wouldn't want them to release a Pro 2 without releasing a Vision 1.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty important to do that first. But here's the thing that I didn't know. Do you know that this Apple event was hosted from the UK?
What? No.
Yeah. I didn't know. It was hosted from the Battersea Power Station.
What do you mean hosted?
Like they had the press come in to the Battersea Power Station instead of going to the Apple campus.
Oh, that's an odd choice. What's going on out there then?
I know that they recently got the Battersea Power Station.
Who?
But Apple. They got half the power station.
Really?
Yeah, they got a campus there.
I did not know that, because last I really heard about the power station was a few years back when they saved it from getting demolished, and then it was up for grabs and whatnot, because it's an iconic. They probably got it because of the iconography of, it's the skyline and how it looks and what it represents. But I'm really surprised at that.
I only know about Apple's change over there because of the nerdiest thing. They have iPhone doors.
Of doors that are phones.
The doors have like a sticker around the outside of them to make them look like iPhones.
Ah, okay. Wow.
It sounds less cool when I say it like that, but I'm nerdy enough that I was quite impressed by it.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
I want to talk about my favorite section.
Yeah, let's go there.
The Logic Pro and Final Cut update.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly where I was. And I don't know, it's my favorite and it's not, but you go ahead first. Why?
I just love the multicam thing the most, and I know that you like the STEM section, but the multicam kind of blew my mind, and I immediately went home to discuss the idea with my dad on how it would be done. And I mean, both me and you guessed it right. It most likely would be it's streaming a lower quality
like proxy, yeah,
to the host iPad, and then at the end it downloads it all exactly the same as how we are currently talking to each other.
Yeah, that's the way forward. And I think you have to, if you want to innovate in that way, you do have to kind of think almost backwards. And traditionally with, multi-camera work, everything's sent down a thick cable and it's stored on analog, and it's there and you have it there. But if we're moving into a wireless, we have to think differently, and I think that's great. Who's going to use it?
I think colleges are going to be the biggest users of it.
Yeah.
Or there's recently been a lot of films shot on iPhone, which I don't understand how that's happening, but I've seen a lot of it. Not just Apple going, look, it can be used for that. There are actually people who are filming with it now because it's such a small and yet capable device. Especially
now it's got the storage option as well.
I need to probably explain the live cam, multicam to people who aren't as media-like as us. when you use Logic or DaVinci or Premiere, there's an option that allows you to input and sync multiple bits of footage together. And you can then swap between the different bits of footage depending on what you want to see to make a nice thing. This is how you watch like Hootenanny or what's a more relevant TV show that has a lot of multicam shots?
The news.
The news, yeah.
Sports,
I mean,
football, anything like that is multicam.
Yeah. Eurovision. I'm only saying that because I can actually hear it from the next room.
Oh, God.
This technology, to be able to do it live, is great because it means you don't have to really... how would I explain this? It's not live. You're not streaming it on YouTube. You are just editing it there and then, saving yourself a hell of a lot of time later on.
Yeah, and I think you can capture the energy of a performance or a scene or a room a lot better when you're live there getting the reactions. And of course, I'm assuming that you have the option of going back and tweaking post-event as well, which is cool.
It'd be pretty bad if you couldn't do that.
Hey, first iteration, it's Apple.
That is true.
What they are going to do, if it's not already there and you know it's coming, is having the option to stream live to this platform. And when that happens, this is going to be the podcasting platform of choice for everybody. Imagine.
Oh my God, you're right.
You're doing a multicam pod, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, 4 iPhones. I mean, it's not a stretch to expect 4 iPhones in a room on a podcast. Your guest brings a camera, they set it up, they get on the Wi-Fi, they put it in front of them, and you go.
I would be so happy with that. I thought about that because I about 2 years ago when I was planning on doing screen free a lot more.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy 2 GoPros to stick on either side of the room so we could do recordings like that instead. Mm. The idea of just people rock up with a phone is amazing. That would save so much time.
Yeah. Every guest has got an iPhone.
I think the iPad might be becoming the best podcasting tool ever.
Hold on, but then there's a huge spanner I'm going to throw in the works. So hold that there, because my favourite feature is stems for Logic Pro. However, I said to you straight away, well, this is trickling down, and this means that Apple are finally going to upgrade Logic 10 and make a new Logic 11, which I'm not happy about because, you know, new number normally means pay again, or in this case, maybe change the way you pay. But those
subscription.
But those features are trickling over. And so I looked it up as soon as I got home, and guess what? Apple have announced Logic 11, May the 13th, I think it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a secret, not a secret, but a silent announcement. May the 13th, Logic Pro 11. It's got all of the features of the iPad version. There's no price there, but if you go on the Apple site, they've got it, they show it, and the price is still $199. Now, I don't know if Logic 10 people have to pay for that, which I'm guessing they do. That's why they've called it 11. And kudos to Apple. We've had 11 years of free updates on that little kind of bit of money we spent back then. However, I say that to say Final Cut Pro is also going to get those features. So if you've got a MacBook with Final Cut, you'll also, that's a better form factor. Bring your MacBook, do your podcast with 4 cameras.
While we're on the topic of these 2 platforms, hey, Apple, could you make an alternative to After Effects, please? Thank you.
Well, they used to. They used to have, what was it called?
Oh, I know they have their tool, but it sucks.
It was part of Final Cut Studio back in the day. Oh, geez,
they have it in Final Cut and they have it separated.
Motion.
Yeah, that was it, Motion. And I took one look at it and went, no. And then I tried it when I was in an Apple store and was definitely not happy enough with it to use it at all.
They still make Motion then, do they?
It still exists. Whether they make it, I do not know. They showed it in the demo of how fast it can edit 4K or something like that.
Okay, so it made the 4K era. I honestly haven't seen a soul touch Motion since about 2011.
I think they just integrated it with other things and made it a background tool instead.
Yeah.
I do also want to mention the fact that this is the first new Apple camera app since the camera app existed.
Oh, it looks, the few shots that we saw, I'm on board.
I'm excited, but it does mean they let DaVinci make an app just to let them fail and then immediately make their own one.
Yeah, I've got the DaVinci one as well, the camera app. And they mentioned it's free. Did you hear the emphasis on that? Free.
So that was one of my questions. I didn't know if it was free.
Yeah, so they said we've made this free iPad and iPhone Final Cut camera app. The emphasis on the free, so that's cool. So I'm going to experiment with that.
I've tried the DaVinci one. I really liked it. Not on my own phone. I had to steal Cayden's phone. Mm-hmm. That's the second mention of this episode. That's quite funny. And I did enjoy it. I think it's a good tool. And I like the fact that the Apple app shows the battery percentage and the storage. I think the DaVinci one only shows the storage, not the battery percentage.
Oh, I didn't look that closely at all.
I might just keep looking at it and trying to figure it out. The manual focus thing, that's nice.
Oh, and the fact that you can control it from the main device, the main iPad. Yeah, so whoever's the editor doing a live edit can pull, person one's camera up and then change the point of focus, change all of the features. So how much, what am I losing out? The ISO, whatever, from their iPad.
That makes the idea of using that for college even better. When someone's not paying attention and yet there's a really good shot there, just to quickly tap on it, pull the focus, and then it's all...
Well, I think they're going the route of their static cameras that are unmanned, and you're the person who's going to be able to manage those cameras. And, who knows? They might integrate that technology they've got for what follows you around for FaceTime. You could integrate that, so you could turn cameras.
You've painted this future in my brain now, and I'm excited. I wasn't excited, and now I'm very excited for this multicam system.
Don't get too excited because you've got to buy a £1,000 iPad and about 4 iPhones. That's about $5,000 set up there for you.
Can they release it for the Mac, please? So I don't have to buy a new system.
It's worth a Google. If they've announced Logic Pro 11, I bet they've kind of done that for Final Cut as well.
Oh, but then I have to buy Final Cut.
Or just hire it for a week or whatever it is, lease it, whatever they call it.
Oh, okay. The other thing that was announced was their keyboard, and we can skate on past that because there wasn't a lot. There was the functions row, which I heard quite a few people speculate was coming out, and I agree. I'm happy it's come out. It's not a very good functions row. It doesn't actually have functions on it. It just has buttons, and I would argue it needs... how the iPhone just got that orange button?
Yes, the action button. Well, it hasn't got it yet.
Why is that not on... Yeah. Why has it not got it on the keyboard?
The keyboard is sacred. You don't go adding new keys to the keyboard. Apple learned that the hard way.
Who's using... I've forgotten the name of that button. The press F3 on your keyboard. What's that one called?
Expose.
Yeah. Who's using that button?
I am right now.
But that's because I asked you to do it.
I mean, yeah, I've got that mapped to a gesture. And I think most people have.
Or the moon button.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Those should be orange buttons.
And also, whilst we're talking about it, the play, rewind, and fast forward buttons should be on F1, F2, and F3, in my opinion. They should be on the left hand.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even though that is changing the format, I agree that probably should be where it goes.
You should be able to customize that.
Yeah, I fully agree. Hey, Apple, bring back the touch bar. I liked it.
Yeah.
Imagine how expensive that would be now on that little iPad one. I would also like fingerprint ID on that keyboard, but yeah, again, that would put the price up even more.
Yeah, but it's on an iPad with Face ID though, so...
Yeah, but doesn't the Mac have Face ID and...
No?
No, is it just one?
Has your Mac got Face ID? Mine's old, so...
I haven't checked.
I don't think I'd like Face ID on my Mac. I think it's... Your hands are always rested on that keyboard. It's just there. Yeah. I think it makes sense.
I feel like that they should bring... I'm going to bring it back to the VR headset again. Or, sorry, the Vision Pro. Can they bring back the touch bar that they'd spent so much time designing into that keyboard instead?
Yeah, I mean, the reviews I've seen don't rate the keyboard at all, so I think they'd be better to steer away from any kind of resemblance of a keyboard on Vision Pro, but yeah, why not?
Imagine if you could rock up with, what's it called, like the Magic Keyboard or whatever it was that they sell for the iMac or stuff like that. Imagine if you rock up with that, you put it down, and then just automatically a bar appears above it in the Vision Pro.
That would be cool.
It would be cool.
That'd be cool. Okay, breaking news.
Right. Oh, okay.
It's not really breaking news. It's broken news, if you ask me. Final Cut for Mac has a multicam, and it's on the Apple website now.
What?
The industry's most advanced multicam editing system is now integrated into Final Cut. So there you go.
Oh, I'm gonna have to give Final Cut a go then. Okay, well, I'm a big DaVinci fan, so that's gonna be difficult, but I want to give that a try.
$299. Go for it.
Oh God, that's so much money.
It's not. I mean, it's not. It really isn't. Final Cut Studio was like £900 until the App Store came along. So if you look at it in context, it's really cheap. You don't subscribe to it.
If I think of it in the way that I buy something from DaVinci, they give me a key as well as the something I bought from them. Apple, you do that with other things.
No, that's where you're wrong. So do I say this on the podcast? Yes, I do. So I bought Logic Pro many moons ago, and I've installed that on so many machines. As long as my Apple ID is on it, it's fine. Like, it doesn't limit you to one. So who needs a key? If you've got 5 Macs, it's on all 5.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. You just can't share it.
Can I talk about the other thing that was my favorite? So the only 2 things I liked was the live multicam and the Pencil Pro.
Yeah, they're cool. But that's it?
Yeah, I didn't like the iPad itself. I did like the pencil.
Are you not liking the price of things? Because there's no way if someone puts a 13-inch iPad M4 in front of you, you're dismissing that. If it's £500.
I think it's an unnecessary device.
Okay.
That's my problem with it. I would love to buy an iPad Pro. I wouldn't buy the new one. I'd buy the older one. Not for the price, but for the fact that I don't need the iPad to do very heavy stuff. It's probably going to be researching news, taking podcast notes, and maybe editing these episodes.
And then a laptop is better than that.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't have a use. But what I do see is a lot of people don't have laptops anymore. You see it around at college. People bring in tablets.
I've been trying to convince more people who aren't heavy on the laptop world to not get an Air, get an iPad, because it's a lot a lot friendlier UI, a lot better for the people themselves to use, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And technically cheaper, I think.
No, not anymore. This new, the 13-inch version of the iPad Air is $800.
Yeah, but they don't have to go for the iPad Air.
What, they're going to go for a Pro and pay more?
No, they could go for an iPad. Wait, which one do you have to have the keyboard with?
I don't. You can get a keyboard if you go third party for a $350 entry level, I guess. But I mean, that's not as capable.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the pencil.
Back to the pencil. What do you think?
I love it. I'm so happy that they managed to put that the squeeze ability to add more functions. I felt like the pencil before was very basic, and I don't know how they could charge so much for a pencil that can draw. I mean, that's a fairly simple thing. I know that the latency was good. I know that the pen has amazing different styles it can do with pressure sensor. Mm-hmm. Great. I'm not a drawer. I don't do art. I can't draw.
So why are you so excited about the new one if you don't draw?
Because it has functions, and I like functions. The more abilities I can have, the better I can be at editing. I can cut things faster. I can take notes faster.
Yeah.
Give me more buttons. I like buttons.
Yeah.
And then I like the fact it has a hover ability now. I love the tracking, so you can find it when you lost it, because I will most definitely lose it.
That's a good feature. That should be standard across Apple devices now. There's no excuse.
And I don't understand what happened, but I swear for a second they swapped apps and dragged a file from one to another.
Well, they can do that, right?
No, this person was working in Procreate and then went to Procreate Dream, I think it's called.
Yeah. In
a quick swipe and just dragged the file in.
Yeah, that's not new.
That's not new?
No.
This tells you how much I pay attention to iPad.
Yeah. That was their big thing when they when we went over to the M chips.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that was around that time. But I just don't think it's captured in it. It's an odd place. The iPad is a weird space. I like managing my windows freely. I like managing my files between the desktop, between iCloud, between, Finder. And you can't do that quick enough on an iPad. And as you know, when you're creating, ideas come, the last thing you want to think about is where you've dropped something. You'll organize that later. But you have to think steps ahead on the iPad, and it just becomes a bit of a creativity killer, unfortunately, unless you stay in one app. And that's why the artists love it, because they stay in Procreate or Illustrator and just, touch it. Do you see that
bit in the Procreate demo when this person was, this blew Frankie's mind with I think it was Procreate Dream. I keep forgetting the name. Mm-hmm. Instead of animating manually where this cone went, the guy just held it and moved it across as he was playing it. That's pretty cool. That would save a lot of time for many projects.
Saving time is going to be the name of June event. And AI is going to save time. But I predict a lot of people like Frankie
That's a good name.
Be upset.
That does seem like something. I think you've got a good chance that will be it. Because I did notice during that event, when they mentioned AI, it wasn't AI will do this for you. It was most definitely they were hiding it to show you it can help you, not replace you.
Yeah. It's a fine line, because ultimately, as we know, it is going to replace a lot of these things that we do. Saving time literally means that, because an employer or a client says, oh, that's taking you 4 hours. I don't need to pay you for 3 days. You're losing money.
Yeah. I want to mention like one more thing. Two more things. Do you feel like what's it called? I've forgotten the name of the app already again. We were literally just talking about it.
Procreate?
Procreate feels like it's such an Apple company, and yet it's not owned by Apple.
Yet.
Yeah, I know. I feel like they're going to own them soon. It feels really weird, them not owning them.
When they've got a close relationship with a company like that as well, it's likely, isn't it?
They give them such leeway and they help them out so much. But by what we see, that's all I can say. By what we see, it could be entirely different behind.
And that could be a good thing if Apple bought Procreate. I remember when Apple bought a company called Alchemy for Logic Pro, and Alchemy used to cost, it was a £300 plugin that was supported on all platforms. Apple bought it, upgraded it for a year, like behind the scenes, re-released it for Apple only, but gave it to you for free as part of Logic Pro. And it was amazing, and it's kind of reinvented a lot.
That must have annoyed a few people.
Oh, yeah, there were the windows on people online, and I don't blame them, but I could see them doing that and making it part of whatever package they want.
The other thing is they added that bar to the keyboard, the function bar. And right in where F5 is for us, there's a button there. Now, what's that button for?
Let me have a look. What, on F5 for us?
Yeah, F5 for us. What is that?
I didn't even realise that's there. So that is for dictation, if I'm not wrong. But I press function twice for dictation on mine.
It's also the Siri button.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me try it. Mine's dictation.
Yours is dictation.
Yeah.
I moved my dictation to the globe. What I was trying to say was, and that really failed badly, they didn't mention Siri once.
Because Siri's not coming back. Siri's going to have a new name. It's going to have a new interface.
You know that Siri was a company they brought? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I remember when it was an app.
I was not aware of this, and then it suddenly came up on Threads. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
I must be old. I can remember when that was an app. It was one of the early apps, and it was on iPhone. Yeah, and then it went quiet the same way of Alchemy. It went quiet for a year, and it came back, and it was part of iOS 4, I think it was.
Okay, well, that was our Apple talk, but I have one more segment just before we go. I want to get this out because I've designed art for it anyway. I've got a new segment. It's called You Tell Me.
Okay.
Because of the confusion of the Mac corner, we now have the You Tell Me, which is still the exact same thing, but we can suggest whatever we want.
Cool.
I have suggested two things. I have Bubbles from Yoshi Hokura, which I can definitely not say his name correctly, but I'll link it below. It's a great song. I use it for testing speakers because it's the sound of many marbles dropping, and I just genuinely like the song.
What?
I can send it in chat if you're interested.
I don't know if I want to hear that.
It's great.
Marbles dropping.
Yeah, I'm going to go chat.
What does that sound like? Like a vibraphone type thing? Or I can't imagine that.
There you go. I send it.
Okay, you can send it, but I am not listening to that.
All right, fine. And my other suggestion is Audio Hijack. And I was raving to you recently when I discovered it, even though I've heard so many people talk about it. And I'm definitely paying a subscription for that once I can, because from the demo that I have already, I'm excited to swap to it immediately.
The interface is quite nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. And I'm not a big fan of node-based systems.
Yeah.
But my God, I love it.
I didn't know it's on subscription though, the pro version. That's a shame.
It's okay. So when I say subscription, it is a one-time pay.
Oh, okay.
I said the wrong thing, really. I know that I think they do subscriptions with other things, and I think you can pay a subscription instead. It might be one of those type of companies where you either get the option of paying like £10 a month or you pay outright.
I mean, if you can hold out, you wait for Black Friday for that. That would definitely be less than $77.
Oh, that's a fair point. But I'm definitely getting it because that's going to save so much time and make it so much easier to record anything I want. And let me start doing my own radio. Which does remind me of something, but we'll mention that out of episode.
A lot of the things you can do in that, you can do in the audio MIDI settings. It takes a bit of time, but you can do that yourself. Some of those things.
That's easier.
Yeah, and it looks a bit... You get the signals popping up, the VU meters, which is quite pleasing, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions for You Tell Me?
Wow, you put me on a spot here, Mac. I don't really... Okay, if we're doing recommendations, I'm a hip-hop head if we're doing music, and at the moment, hip-hop is very interesting, so I recommend you go and listen to Drake and Kendrick Lamar rap about each other. That's quite cool.
You're going to have to send me a link for that to put in the show notes.
Oh, it's brilliant to see these millionaires going back and forth saying na 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 and getting millions of listens. It's hilarious. But in terms of apps and tech, I've just got this really cool piece of tech that you're not going to be able to use, but I found out about today. So I'm working at an event in next couple of weeks, and it's a live event. And I need to record audio and broadcast audio from this event. Now, it's a live event, it's loud, it's Radio 1's Big Weekender. So they've suggested that we record on Rode mics through our phones. And then, I know, which is pretty crap, but then beam the footage in real time back to their software, which sorts it all out for you. And I thought, well, how's that possible? And they've introduced me to this software called PNG, which is blowing my mind. It's very simple, like most of the software they have is.
Is it possible I can search it, or is it only in-house?
Yeah, you probably can. I don't know who owns it. It's PN and a lowercase g. And it's directly connected with their kind of servers, I guess, worldwide. So I can now find any of their audio material, import it to my phone, and send stuff back in real time. And that can actually be broadcast in real time. So as I send a bit of audio to them, they can then rebroadcast that out live to wherever. And it just blows my mind that they've got that technology, and I didn't know. So,
I cannot find it.
Yeah, it's a part of a package called BBC Essentials, which, I don't know, might be top secret. You have to kind of enroll your phone to it.
I have found the BBC staff portal.
All right, I'll send you my login.
Nope.
No, I won't.
Yeah, for just preference on the recording, he's not going to do that.
But it's opened my mind to the power of your phone. And, we use our phone every day for onboard things, what we do things on device. But the fact that phones are now being taken seriously and are considered to be secure enough to do those kind of things is just mind-blowing to me.
Okay, so you can check out Eli's work on his socials or on his podcast, Where the Keys At. To follow me, I'm at MacBlair on mastonapp.uk. This episode was edited by Jonas, Dickson, and co-edited by me, Mac Blackman. And thank you for listening to this episode from Functions. We will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Jonas, edit this out. It's my chocolate I'm eating right now.
I hate you. Why?